Hey guys, let's talk a little bit about poetry. I've got on my other computer. I brought up the post that you guys made the other day about questions that you had on the poetry slideshow. So acrostics yesterday were really good. I like what you guys were doing with those. So today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my kid photobombing. Here he is. Oh, oh, that's my kid. That's my kid. All right, love you. So I want to talk about one of the elements of poetry. I want to talk to you guys about rhyme scheme. So I think a couple people mentioned rhyme in your comments or questions about poetry. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. So the vote on Monday between the two pieces of writing, which is poetry, which is not poetry, I totally being a butt. The one is decidedly poetry, and one is not. However, there's sort of a loophole in that. So when you guys read "We Real Cool" and "Disseminated," obviously I asked you guys to pick which one you thought was a poem and which one was not. "We Real Cool" is legitimately written as a poem. It's written by Gwendolyn Brooks, who is the first African American to win a Pulitzer Prize. She wrote it about youth and sort of all of the days of going out and partying. Disseminated, however, that's where the loophole comes in. So Disseminated is a song by a band called Soul Coughing. Now, the loophole is that a lot of people would say, well, songs are poetry. And I totally agree with that. However, this particular song, the band was around in the 90s and disbanded in like 95 or 6 or something like that. While they were around, the lead singer, whose name is Mike Doughty, like is on the document, explained where the song "Disseminated" came from, and that this is why I use it. Mike Doughty said that he just picked words that sounded good together and created a rhythm, and that's it. The song "Disseminated" is just a series of words that he stuck together because he liked the rhythm that it created. So I kind of cheated on that on two levels. The first level is that songs often are considered poetry. The second is there is a type of poetry called nonsense poems where they just make things up. And I'm going to post something about those a little later on. I have a couple that are really good examples. But I wanted you guys, as we were getting into this, I wanted you to start listening to poetic, like to the rhythm and the rhyme of writing, so that you could get into it, and that's what leads to today. So aside from trying to trick you guys or mess with you guys, I wanted to talk about rhyme, since that's one of the things that a lot of people mentioned on their post. So with rhyme, one person mentioned it, and I wrote a lengthy response to that person about how my favorite rhyme is when it's very subtle. So with Dr. Seuss, you get rhyme where it's just every line it stops, and that's your rhyme, and it's very, it's like hitting you over the head. You're like, I like cats. I have a bat. I'm wearing a hat. So you get these short lines where the line is self-contained and it just stops. But when you look at a poem like "We Real Cool," the poetic tool that's being used in that case is called enjambment. And enjambment is where you take that first word of the second line, or any number of words, and you bump that up to the next line. And the purpose of that is to make you read on. It creates rhythm. So instead of saying "we real cool," we left school, we lurk late, we, you read it straight through, and it creates a rhythm. It creates a pace and a flow through it. So you read it as "we real cool," "we left school," "we lurk late," "we strike straight." So with rhyme, I like rhyme schemes, or rhyme in general, that is more subtle, like that, where it creates a flow throughout it, and it's not there's not a harsh stop at the end of every line. And with poetry, you really want to read to the punctuation in poetry. You don't want to stop at the end of every line, otherwise you read we real cool, like we real cool, we left school, we. You don't want to stop at the line. You want to stop at the period. You want to pause at the comma. And when you do that, and when you're using rhyme and you do that, it creates a really cool flow. There's a poem by T.S. Eliot called The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, and I actually have part of it tattooed on my leg. And it's my favorite poem ever because it does that. Because you get some lines where it does stop, where you get a solid, like, bam, that's a rhyme. But then you get a bunch of lines where the whole sentence is 2 lines long. So instead of stopping at that rhyme at the end, you just cruise right past it to finish out the sentence. And when you do that, it creates a much more interesting flow. So for today's assignment, I'm going to have you guys start to play a little bit with rhyme. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a list of options for rhyme scheme. I want you guys to create a list of words that rhyme. And that isn't, like, you don't have to do a complete poem. You don't have to write all the sentences yet. Just for today, a complete list of words that rhyme. So when I give you a rhyme scheme, that's like, and one of you guys even mentioned this on your post, the rhyme scheme with the pattern of you label it with letters A, B, A, B, A, B, B, C, A. So if you get a rhyme scheme like this, where you've got A, B, B, C, A, all of the A words rhyme. So A could be school, and A would be fool, and then the last A would be cool. And then the B words start a new rhyme. So that would be your, I don't know, cat, bat, hat. And then C is a third sounding word, like steel. So when you look at the rhyme scheme, you're going to pick words that all of the A's rhyme, all of the B's rhyme with themselves, but they don't rhyme with A, and then all of the C's rhyme with themselves, but they don't rhyme with A or B. So I'm going to give you guys a list of different rhyme schemes. What I'm going to have you guys do, and I will probably do about 14 lines, which is sonnet length. What we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys create a list of words that rhyme. So a bunch of A words that rhyme, a bunch of B words that rhyme, a bunch of C words that rhyme. And then we're going to use that for what's called a bourrame, which is sort of like it's like a party game that they used to do. People used to get together, poets and writers would get together and have these challenges and things, and bourrame is sort of like that. If those of you guys who've read Frankenstein and are familiar with it, that's how the book Frankenstein was written. A bunch of writers got together at a retreat. Honestly, theirs was a romantic swingers weekend, which is, that whole thing is weird. Anyway, they got together and they challenged each other. They said, let's write the scariest story we can possibly write. And so Mary Shelley had this nightmare, and she used that as the inspiration for her story, and ta-da, we got Frankenstein. And you can tell how successful that was because we haven't read any of the other books that came out of that weekend. But we all teach Frankenstein on the high school level, and a lot of seniors have to read it. So for today, I'm going to give you guys a rhyme scheme. I want you guys just to come up with the words. Then tomorrow I'm going to post instructions on a bourrame for you guys to do, which is sort of, like I said, a party challenge trick sort of thing to do. Go back and look at my feedback from, let me check the date real fast, from Tuesday, because there are some people I responded at length to with questions that you guys had. Some people didn't have questions, and I understand that, but I want you to get a solid understanding of poetry, and I'm relying largely on your personal feelings toward it, and I know that some of you guys don't like poetry, and I understand that. Hopefully, what we're um, doing is slightly more enjoyable than what you would do in normal English class, because I want you to create stuff that's sort of fun, and the Bourame is supposed to be one of those fun ones. The acrostic I like to do just because it's one that you guys usually come to school with a little bit of a misconception about, thanks to your elementary school teachers. So that's it. I wanted to check in with you guys. Today I'll post those rhyme schemes for you guys, and then you'll just create a list of words. That's all for today, and then tomorrow I'll give you instructions on how to turn that into a Bourame. Hope you guys are doing really well. I hope you guys are all staying healthy, staying safe. If you've got questions, you can post them on the announcement if you want. If you've got if you want, you can email me as well. My sinuses are all jacked up. Sorry. All right. Take care.